This message comes from our 2021 lead sponsor of NPR Music, State Farm. To celebrate their surprisingly great rates, State Farm invites you to discover the surprisingly great genre space music. With its ambient roots, space music has tranquil, relaxing sounds that will transport you to a different galaxy. If you're looking for something out of this world to vibe out to during your next listening party, space music is your jam. Make sure to check out space music, then check out State Farm's surprisingly great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hi, I'm Ann Powers, critic and correspondent with NPR Music, and I am so excited to be joined by my favorite group of friends and esteemed colleagues ever for this listening party in celebration and honor of the 50th anniversary of John Prine's debut album titled John Prine. Hello, all. It's so great to see you all. Before we get started, I just want to say, join us in the chat. I'll be in there talking about the album if you have questions, etc. I feel that there's no music that brings fellowship quite like John's music, and especially like this record. So it feels particularly appropriate to share it with people today. I just want to welcome everyone here. First, I want to say hi to Fiona Whelan Prine and Jody Whelan, John's family, the powerhouses behind Oh Boy Records. I'm so happy and excited to have you here today, and I'm wondering how you're feeling today as we're turning to this music.
Hi, Anne. It's lovely to be here. I'm so happy to see everybody's faces. I'm actually happy to be with Jody. We don't get to sit this close.
Yeah.
This might be the first time in a while without our masks on, so it feels really good to be here to celebrate John. This first beautiful.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's emotional, but his music was like happy and sad and all of it. So I think it's 50 years later, it's still doing its job, Yeah, so we're excited though for this.
And we have Jim Rooney, John Prine's longtime friend and producer of many of his classic albums, as well as just a legendary producer, musician, writer. I just want to name check a few other people you produced, Jim, like Nancy Griffith, Iris DeMint, Hal Ketchum, Townes Van Zandt. You've worked with Bonnie Raitt and many others. So I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm really happy to be part of this. This is quite a phenomenal album, and it's 50 years old, and almost every song on this album is entered hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and to have that happen is an amazing achievement. So I'm just happy to be here to remind everybody of it and get them to listen to it again, or if they've never listened to it, to listen to it for the first time, and it will really blow you away.
And finally, the great Bonnie Raitt is with us, one of John's closest friends and one of his greatest interpreters. Speaking of how John's music initially reached a larger public, well, Bonnie's going to have some stories to share about that. Thank you so much for being here, Bonnie. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm honored to be included, and it's been a difficult time to listen to a lot of John's music without breaking up, so it was really good to have this homework assignment because it's my absolute favorite album of his, although I love them all. It opened a door to be able to feel all of the wonder and astonishment at his genius, and I remember like it was yesterday when I first was turned on to him, and I'll save that for later, but I'm just so glad to see Jim and Jody and Fiona and be with you again, Anne, and be celebrating our beloved John and one of the greatest masterpiece albums I've ever heard.
For anyone out there, and I imagine there aren't that many people out there who haven't listened to this album, treasured it, held it close for many years, but if anyone's new to the story, I'm just going to give a quick little introductory summation of how this album happened. A 24-year-old guy, not too long out of the Army, who'd been carrying mail for a living, wrote some songs. He started playing them around at a Chicago club called the Third Fret. He met a guy named Steve Goodman, and that guy became one of his best buddies, and they started getting gigs elsewhere. He had a regular engagement at another club called the Earl of Old Town, and one night after his set was over, his friend Steve brought in another guy, Chris Christopherson, who was in Chicago playing some shows. John Prine gets on stage despite there really being no audience there, except for Chris Christopherson, and I think maybe Paul Anka was also in the room. And they played. He played his set, and Chris Christopherson, Paul Anka, everyone was blown away. Chris calls up Jerry Wexler at Atlantic Records, and within months, John Prine has a record contract. And this is the album that came from that chain of events. So now we're going to do it. We're going to listen together to this record. And I just want to say, for anyone out there listening, it's easy to get into habits of listening, I think, with beloved records. Like for me with this record, I'm singing along on every chorus, I'm laughing at the jokes. I literally tear up every time I hear Hello in There. But let's all listen with fresh ears and think about maybe what we haven't noticed before. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get back. So join us now in listening to John Prine's 1971 debut album.
When I woke up this morning, things were looking bad. Seemed like total silence was the only friend I had. A bowl of oatmeal tried to stare me down, and one. And it was 12 o'clock before I realized I was having no fun. But fortunately, I have the key to escape reality. And you may see me tonight with an illegal smile. It don't cost very much, but it lasts a long while. Won't you please tell the man I didn't kill anyone? No, I'm just trying to have me some fun. The last time I checked my bankroll, it was getting thin. Sometimes it seems like the bottom is the only place I've been. I chased a rainbow down a one-way street, dead end, and all my friends turned out to be insurance salesmen. But fortunately, I have the key to escape reality. And you may see me tonight with an illegal smile. It don't cost very much, but it lasts a long while. Won't you please tell the man I didn't kill anyone? No, I'm just trying to have me some fun. Well, I sat down in my closet with all my overalls, trying to get away from all the ears inside my wall. I dreamed the police heard everything I thought. What then? Well, I went to court and the judge's name was Hoffman. But fortunately, I have the key to escape reality. And you may see me tonight with an illegal smile. It don't cost very much, but it lasts a long while. Won't you please tell the man I didn't kill anyone? No, I'm just trying to have me some fun. Well done, hot dog bun, my sister's a nun. She was a level-headed dancer on the road to alcohol, and I was just a soldier on my way to Montreal. Well, she pressed her chest box broke. Yeah, she give me a peck on the back of the neck, and these are the words she spoke. Blow up your TV, throw away your paper, go to the country, build you a home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try and find Jesus on your own. Well, I sat there at the table and I acted real naive, for I knew that topless lady had something up her sleeve. Well, she danced around the barroom and she did the hoochie coo. Yeah, she sang her song all night long, telling me what to do. Blow up your TV, throw away your paper, go to the country, build you a home, plant a little garden, eat a lot of peaches, try and find Jesus on your own. Well, I was young and hungry and about to leave that place, when just as I was leaving, well, she looked me in the face. I said, you must know the answer. She said, no, but I'll give it a try. And to this very day, we've been living our way. And here is the reason why. We blew up our TV, threw away our paper, went to the country, built us a home, had a lot of children, fed them on peaches. They all found Jesus on their own. Apartment in the city, me and Loretta like living there. Well, it'd been years since the kids had grown a life of their own and left us alone. John and Linda live in Omaha, and Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War, and I still don't know what for. Don't matter anymore. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. Me and Loretta, we don't talk much more. She sits and stares through the back door screen. And all the news just repeats itself like some forgotten dream that we've both seen. Someday I'll go and call up Rudy. We worked together at the factory. What could I say if he asked what's new? Nothing, what's with you? Nothing much to do. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. So if you're walking down the street sometime, spot some hollow ancient eyes, please don't just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. Say hello in there. Hello. Sam Stone came home to his wife and family after serving in the conflict overseas. And the time that he served had shattered all his nerves and left a little shrapnel in his knee. But the morphine eased the pain, and the grass grew around his brain and gave him all the confidence he lacked. With a purple heart and a monkey on his back, there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. Sam Stone's welcome home didn't last too long. He went to work when he'd spent his last dime, and Sammy took to stealing when he got that empty feeling for $100 habit without overtime. And the gold rolled through his veins like 1,000 railroad trains, and eased his mind in the hours that he chose, while the kids ran around wearing other people's clothes. There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. Sam Stone was alone when he popped his last balloon, climbing walls while sitting in a chair. Well, he played his last request, while the room smelled just like death, with an overdose hovering in the air. But life had lost its fun, and there was nothing to be done but trade his house that he bought on the GI Bill for a flag-draped casket on a local hero's hill. There's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. And there's a backwards old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old prison down by Adrie Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber and stripped all the land. Well, they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, then they wrote it all down as the progress of man. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. When I die, let my ashes float down the Green River, let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lays? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. I got a friend in Prine. He sells used cars, you know. Well, he calls me up twice a year just to ask me how'd it go. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. But actually, everything is just about the same. Venus. Her insides were lined in gold. Well, she did what she did, said, "How was it, kid?" She was politely told, "Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain." But actually, everything is just about the same. Moonlight makes me dizzy, sunlight makes me clean. Your light is the sweetest thing that this boy has ever seen. Molly went to Arkansas. She got raped by Dobbin's dog. But she was doing good till she went in the woods and got pinned up against the log. Pretty good, not bad, she can't complain. 'Cause actually, all them dogs are just about the same. Moonlight makes me dizzy, sunlight makes me clean. Your light is the sweetest thing that this boy's ever seen. I heard Allah and Buddha were singing at the Savior's feast. And up in the sky, an Arabian rabbi fed Quaker oats to a priest. Pretty good, not bad, they can't complain. 'Cause actually, all them gods are just about the same. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. 'Cause actually, everything is just about the same. While digesting Reader's Digest in the back of the dirty bookstore, a plastic flag with gum on the back fell out on the floor. Well, I picked it up and I ran outside, slapped it on my window shield. And if I could see old Betsy Ross, I'd tell her how good I feel. But your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. They're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. Well, I went to the bank this morning and the cashier said to me, "If you join the Christmas club, we'll give you 10 of them flags for free." Well, I didn't mess around a bit. I took him up on what he said, and I stuck them stickers all over my car and one on my wife's forehead. But your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. They're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. Well, I got my window shields filled with flags I couldn't see, so I ran the car upside a curb got a doctor down, I was already dead. And I'll never understand why the man standing in the pearly gate said, but your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. We're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. As the cafe was closing on a warm summer night, Kathy was cleaning the spoons, the radio played the hit parade, and I hummed along with the tune. She asked me to change the station, said the song just drove her insane. But it weren't just the music playing, it was me she was trying to blame. And the sky is black and still now on the hill where the angels sing. Ain't it funny how an old broken bottle looks just like a diamond ring, but it's far, far from me. Well, I leaned on my left leg in the parking lot dirt. Kathy was closing the lights. June bug flew from the warmth he once knew, and I wished for once I weren't right. Why, we used to laugh together, and we danced to any old song. Well, you know, she still laughs with me, but she waits just a second too long. And the sky is black and still now on the hill where the angels sing. Ain't it funny how an old broken bottle looks just like a diamond ring, but it's far, far from me. Well, I started the engine and I gave it some gas. Kathy was closing her purse. Well, we hadn't gone far in my beat-up old car, and I was prepared for the worst. Will you still see me tomorrow? No, I got too much to do. Well, a question ain't really a question if you know the answer to. And the sky is black and still now on the hill where the angels sing. Ain't it funny how an old broken bottle looks just like a diamond ring, but it's far, far from me. Named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. If dreams were lightning, thunder were desire, this old house would have burnt down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, well, I had me a cowboy. He weren't much to look at, just a free rambling man. But that was a long time, and no matter how I tried, the years just flow by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them there buzzing, and I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning and come home in the evening and have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go. Strolling down the highway with my shoes in my hand. I don't talk much, I'm a quiet man. Beauty and silence both run deep, and I'm running like crazy while you are asleep. You got news for me, I got nothing for you. Don't pin your blues on me, just go ahead and do whatever you wish to. Last Monday night, I saw a fight between Wednesday and Thursday over Saturday night. Tuesday asked me what was going on. I said Sunday's in the meadow and Friday's in the corn. You got news for me, I got nothing for you. Don't pin your blues on me, just go ahead and do whatever you wish to. Hocus pocus, maladjusted. Don't you think my tears get rusted? Steady losing means you ain't using what you really think is right. You got news for me, I got nothing for you. Don't pin your blues on me, just go ahead and do whatever you wish to. Small town, bright lights, Saturday night, pinballs and pool halls flashing their lights, making change behind a counter in a penny arcade sat the fat girl daughter of Virginia and Raitt. Lydia hid her thoughts like a cat behind her small eyes, sunk deep in her fat. She read a romance magazine up in her room. It felt just like Sunday on Saturday afternoon. But dreaming just comes natural, like the first breath from a baby, like sunshine feeding daisy, like the love hidden deep in your heart. Bunk beds, shaved heads, Saturday night, a warehouse of strangers with 60-watt lights, staring through the ceiling, just wanting to be, lay one of too many, a young PFC. Donald, there were spaces between Donald and whatever he said. Strangers had forced him to live in his head. He envisioned the details of romantic scenes after midnight in the stillness of the barracks, the train. But dreaming just comes natural, like the first breath from a baby, like sunshine feeding daisy, like the love hidden deep in your heart. Hot love, cold love, no love at all. A portrait of guilt is hung on the wall. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right. Donald and Lydia made love that night. Love, they made love in the mountains, they made love in the streams, they made love in the valleys, they made love in their dreams. But when they was finished, there was nothing to say, 'cause mostly they made love 10 miles away. But dreaming just comes natural, like the first breath from a baby, like sunshine feeding daisy, like the love hidden deep in your heart. Wanda had a baby in 1951. The father was a stranger, and the stranger was the son. Call that child James Lewis, call his room a home. Changing all them diapers, polish all that chrome. on, baby, spend the night with me. All around the schoolyard, playing all the games, running, laughing, back and forth, the kid with two first names. Stranger in the closet, lock the diary. The past is running faster, singing harmony. Come on, baby, spend the night with me. God bless this kitchen, said the knick-knack shelf. Well, dinner's almost ready, go and wash yourself. Well, Jimmy's growing up now, Wanda's growing old. The time is growing shorter, the nights are long and cold. Come on, baby, spend the night with me. Sneaking in the closet, through the diary. Now don't you know, all he saw was all there was to see. The whole town saw Jimmy on the 6 o'clock news. His brains were on the sidewalk, blood was on his shoes. Come on, baby, spend the night with me. Come on, baby, spend the night with me. While window shopping through the past, I ran across a looking glass, reflecting moments remaining in a burned out light. Tragic magic, prayers of passion, stay the same through changing fashion, to freeze my mind like water on a winter's night. Spend most of my youth out hobo cruising, and all I got for proof is rocks in my pockets and dirt in my shoes. So goodbye, non-believer. Don't you know that I hate to leave here so long, babe? I got the flashback blues. Photographs show the laughs recorded in between the bad times. Happy sailors dancing on a sinking ship. Cloudy skies and dead fruit flies, waving goodbye with tears in my eyes. Well, sure I made it, but you know it was a hell of a trip. Spend most of my youth out hobo cruising, and all I got for proof is rocks in my pockets and dirt in my shoes. So 10 times what it grieves you, that's how much more I hate to leave you now. So long, babe, I got the flashback blues. Spend most of my youth out hobo cruising, and all I got for proof is rocks in my pockets and dirt in my shoes. So goodbye, non-believer. Don't you know that I hate to leave here so long, babe? I got the flashback blues.
And that's it. John Prine's 1971 debut album, as Jim Rooney has written in some liner notes that are soon going to be out with another John Prine recording from the famous Station Inn show, where he played this album in where he played this album in its entirety. Jim, you wrote about the photo on the cover of this album, John sitting on a bale of hay, and how that signaled something to the audience. So maybe we should just start there. Let's start with you can see this album for the first time in a shop. What are you seeing?
Well, the bale of hay. I've had to sit on a couple of bales of hay for television shows that thought they were country music, and I guess this was the point of this bale of hay. I don't think John had ever maybe sat on a bale of hay before that, but I'm guessing. And at any rate, it was a signal that maybe this would be some country music of some kind. And of course, it is in its own way, and it does have steel guitar and some good electric guitar for sure, and but in every song has a chorus, and that's kind of one of the things you get out of country songs. And John grew up, listening to country music in his family, and they coming from Kentucky, it was in the family. So that's so they weren't steering you wrong, I don't think, with that cover. And John is just not looking like anything really. He's just not sitting there and having his picture taken. But so you have no really clue as to what you're getting into here until you get into it. And once you get into it, I think there's no looking back. It's just a phenomenal collection of songs about all kinds of emotions, and done so beautifully so that you can sing the song when it's over. And that is the hallmark of a really wonderful songwriter there. You come out of those songs remembering them. And if you ever went to a John Prine concert, just about everybody in that audience would be singing. It's amazing achievement.
Absolutely. Fiona, I see her holding the album. Hold it up. Hold up the album cover for us.
I know.
There it is. I love it. Do you remember when the first time you heard this record was, Fiona? I know that you first saw John when you were a teenager, long before you actually met him.
I did. I don't know that I saw this record. I got tickets to go see John when I was 17 years old. As a matter of fact, it was Jody's father who gave me those tickets. He was working that night and he couldn't make it, so I took a girlfriend. I'm 17, a chance to go anywhere, it didn't matter, going out. But we went to this old boxing club to hear John, and he was, at that time, if I remember correctly, there were 3 people on stage, and I know now that one was Philip Donnelly, the great guitar player, Philip Donnelly, and the other was John's second wife, Rachel Peer, on bass, and John on guitar. And it was a very stripped back show. And it was folky, I do remember that. But there was a moment in that show that has stayed with me all the way to this day. My friend and I decided we would leave about midway through the show. And the show was in, like I said, in an old boxing club. And so the walls were concrete. And as we walked out, I heard him start the song Sam Stone. And I stood with my back against the wall. I can literally feel the condensation. I mean, I know that moment. I remember the moment. And he sang Sweet Songs Never Last Too Long on broken radios. And it was the first time, and I had listened to Joni Mitchell and Janis Ian and Leonard Cohen and to Bonnie Raitt. I mean, I was, my sisters and I had very eclectic LP collection. But it was the first time that I ever heard someone sing a line that knew me. He knew me. I had lost my father just 4 years previously in a very sudden, tragic accident. I was still in grief for my dad, and what had tied my father and I together was radio. And when he said that sweet songs never last too long in broken radios, it blew me away.
That story so beautifully gets at what makes John's songwriting on this first album and throughout his career so incredible, I think, which is he brings you in with humor, with narrative pull, with storytelling, and then there's just this, like, I am now going to gently reach in and pull your heart out aspect. I mean, Casey Musgraves now gets a lot of credit for being happy and sad at the same time, but I think John Prine admitted that.
I think so. The idea that someone can pull you in with an everyday object. And it was really one of the reasons why when I met John, it seemed, well, of course, there you are.
Yeah.
Someone had subsequently given me Bruised Orange, and I looked at his picture and I went, oh, that's that guy from the show. And this was maybe 3 or 4 years later, and I looked at him and I thought, and he has my grandmother's eyes. Who is this guy?
And the rest became history. Well, Bonnie, I wonder if you remember exactly when you first heard this music. I mean, obviously you have so many stories about John and his music, but can you walk us back to that moment?
Well, as someone that was a complete folk, follower from the time I was 8 or 9 when I picked up the guitar at summer camp, idolizing my folk music counselors, I followed all of the magazines like Sing Out and Folkways and Rolling Stone and Cream and Crawdaddy and all that, and the New York Times and The Voice and everything. And I but at that point was on the East Coast in college and just had started to play, hanging out with blues people that Dick Waterman managed, Mississippi Fred McDowell, and I opened for John Hammond and my friend Chris Smither. And right around the time when John was beginning, I had my first album coming out, and the reviews were in the music papers, the cognoscenti that they were writing about up and coming. Either it was a live show before his album came out or it was the reviews of his album. But in the musician circles that I traveled in, which admittedly wasn't the wider public, John was already legendary. So I forget the exact time when I got to see him live, but it was in a club and I was playing the Gaslight and he might have been at the bitter end. But I remember seeing him solo and then getting his record and just, I was just astonished that anyone could, at that age, create that much magic in that short of period of time. And then reading his story, where he came from, was just so exotic to me, that he was from Kentucky and moved to Chicago and was in the Army, I mean, I didn't even know anybody besides Elvis that went to the Army at that point. I mean, I'd been a little Quaker girl and a pacifist, and most of my circle was conscientious objectors or draft dodgers, And, John was just so homespun, and, I knew that they were trying to market him with the hay bales and everything, and I got a kick out of that. But the minute he opened his mouth, it was like something so incredibly, it was the part of the roots music of America and the South that I could relate to. I already loved Christofferson and the singer-songwriters that I just, Emmylou turned me on to, but John was completely unique, and we met very soon after I first heard him, and we became fast friends, and of course, the rest of our many years of touring together. But I was such a huge, he probably was the most important, after Dylan and Joni Mitchell, probably the most important artist at that time in my life of the singer-songwriters, and certainly in my mind, the finest we've ever had. So I knew right away the magic that was John. And then as a person, oh my gosh, he was the same guy, giggling and laughing and chortling at himself. He was the same guy. I mean, I didn't get to see Mark Twain, but I got John Prine.
Well said, very well said. You brought up Dylan, and I was reading some of the early reviews of this record, and even before this record, and interestingly. Here's a little fun fact. Roger Ebert, I guess, was the first person to write a big review of John. And there was also, Robert Hilburn was also of the LA Times, also a huge supporter of John. But he's always compared to Dylan. And if, all these years later, I think they're so different. I just wonder what you think. Jody, what do you think about that? Like, I feel like John Prine, I hate to say this, might be more relevant to young singer-songwriters today than Bob Dylan. Did I say
just
that?
no, I think I think it's a different achievement, and I think, I mean, John held Dylan and up really
Huge.
high. Like, he credits him for like wanting to write the kind of songs that he ended up writing, right? He not just opened the door, but created the doorway. But yeah, I mean, I do think their achievement is different, but I also think they weren't interested in writing about the same things. I mean, when I look at this record and the guy on it, I mean, he's got his head cocked to the side. He's definitely thinking about things, but he doesn't have the answer, right? I mean, he's not, even in like a prescriptive song like Hello in There, which is sort of like tells you how maybe you should feel at the end. I mean, there was never sort of, I know the right thing. I know the way of the world. I have it figured out. It was, yeah, he marveled at it, and you laughed at the sad parts and cried at the happy parts. And I think, I think it's maybe more approachable, I think it's fair to say. You don't, I think you can appreciate this music on a really deep level. And like, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, before this. Like, how do you think about it? Like, Hello in There is really sad. It's also like a damning indictment of the American dream, right? Two people that do everything you're supposed to do, that gold star family, work, and then you die alone. Like, that is bleak. That is, but that's not really how John intended it to be. That's just me taking that from it. So it's like, you don't have to have read Homer or be deeply versed in the Bible to get a lot out of it.
I think when I listen to a lot of John's songs, and as I got to know him, and marry him and have children and just be around him. I mean, Bonnie kind of touched on that, just being around John, because he had his own little realm going. Bonnie, right? I mean, you knew him longer than anybody here. He just, he laughed at himself. He got sad at his own griefs. But I think John wrote about in songs what he wanted for his life. If I'm an old person, I hope I'm seen and heard. I hope people remember I had children. I hope people will come say hi to me if I'm not able to go out anymore. I do. I think in so many of the songs, he was able to relate just to the human state. Even that woman, that frustrated, sad, angry, disappointed woman in Angel. He was able to get there in his own emotions. He understood because he lived all of his songs, right? I mean, I think we can all accept that now. John for years denied that, but it's true.
He was a great listener. He listened to what
a great observer. Said. Yeah.
And he picked up a lot of this from his mother.
Observer.
John's mother, his mother was a walking collection of aphorisms, crazy as a loon, mad as a hatter, whatever. He picked up a lot of this stuff, and he was listening, and you can imagine him delivering the mail, and he was thinking about these songs while he was doing sort of a aimless, mindless job in a way. But I had the pleasure one time, our mailman up here in Vermont was a fan of John Prine's, and he was delivering rural delivery mail. And I found out John was playing up here in Burlington, Vermont. So I said, well, let's go. And took him up there. And after the show, John Prine sat down with my mailman, and they talked about delivering the mail for about half an hour. And he was a real person. He wasn't some creation of something. His folks, they came from Kentucky, and they took that culture with them to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And they had to go to Chicago because of Mr. Peabody's coal company. Mm-hmm. And was buying out the place, and it was a classic American story, and yet in all of these songs and all of the emotions and the sadness of the stories, some of the stories are so hard to listen to, Sam Stone or whatever, there is no anger here. There is all kinds of feeling of sympathy and empathy and humor and irony, everything, but not anger. He didn't think that anger, it wasn't part of him. He understood that it was a very corrosive, unforgiving emotion, and he didn't have any of it in him as far as I could tell. He was extremely generous and sympathetic to all kinds of people, including himself and his family. And, you know, I think that's the appeal of these songs. I think that's why we all go for them, because they have so much detail in them, little realities of our lives that he picked up on and listened to and saw, and turns them into a little piece of a song. Some of these verses just don't last a minute, and he paints a picture for you that you will never forget, like the line of the broken radio. You know, I mean, that
Absolutely.
was genius, I think, and why these songs just stay with us.
So true, so true. And I want to talk specifically about Angel from Montgomery because, of course, Bonnie, you really brought that to the world in your amazing version of the song. And I was listening to your version and John's version back to back, and we just heard John's version, of course. And you know, that song really is a blues in a way. I mean, it is a blues, you know, and I always think there's some interpreters of Angel from Montgomery who kind of make it just like soft and poignant, but it's the spark of that woman, the spunk of that woman, the protest in that song that I hear in both his version and yours. So can you talk a little bit about taking on that song?
Thank you. It's you know, I hadn't listened to the original in a long time because, you know, there's so many versions of us doing them together that I remember either with our bands or the last time we played it together at the Americana Awards in 2019. Many different incarnations, and we never stop smiling at each other when he goes, "When I was a young girl," you know. When Jackson Browne sings the second verse, he gets a big kick out of it too, and the audience usually jumps up and down. To me, the first time I heard it on the record, it's a blues note that he's singing. I don't know, you know, it's like probably the bluesiest thing on that record, and I don't necessarily categorize it as blues, or it's just, to me, the nexus of country and roots and all of those influences, or the marriage of musical melody and chords and what he's singing about and the point of view. It was just such, it was so piercing to me because I was a young feminist coming up, you know, in the women's movement was definitely in the late 60s, and the pill came in, and I was a young artist starting. I was still in my junior year of college when I got my first gigs, and I wasn't expecting to do this. But for John to have captured that other generation's despair was so redolent of my own mother's, even though she was my dad's musical director and all that. Her generation was really had to choose between raising kids and you know, having a career, but staying in a marriage for the reasons because you don't have the ability to leave, or it's just not done. I mean, I had tremendous sympathy and for that generation when I heard Angel from Montgomery. It encapsulates that despair of like the hopelessness of how the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home and have nothing to say. You know, it's the reason I didn't want to get married. It's right there, you know. I did not want to be in any relationship that held me down or got dead, you know. But listening to him as a 21-year-old, you know, I just couldn't believe that John was so empathetic and able to get inside of that, and the imagery of her being in the kitchen. It's just, oh my God. I mean, years later, I said to John, let's do a 2-person play animating all your songs, you know, just like in Our Town, where it's just a circle and a stage with just bare lights and a couple of window frames and a sink, you know, and then that closes and you go over there and you do, you know, Christmas in Prison, and, you know, just enough of a hair of a set where you could, and just go and play. And we, you know, we talked about it, we didn't get to do it, but it was so evocative of the little details that Jim was speaking about, you know, the washing the spoons, you know, Kathy was washing the spoons, or opening her
Flies
purse and
wasn't in the kitchen.
Yeah.
and on Angel from Montgomery is just there. I can't even isolate Angel when I hear Hello in There and Far From Me, and all the songs are just, it's opened up a well of appreciation that's always there, but I've had to close that door for a little while because it was just too painful. So I appreciate even more than singing every night of all these 5 decades of singing it for someone specifically. Sometimes it's my mom when she passed. Sometimes it's for the women in, the Middle East who don't even get a chance to drive a car or wear a short skirt or work or get educated. And now those poor women in Afghanistan are going to be in the same spot soon. So I feel that he sang something for us for the time, and yet it's so timeless. But it brought out an empathy for my mother's generation that I was not paying attention to. I tended to be a little judgmental about, well, we're not going to have lives like that. We're going to do whatever we want, without understanding. And when that song just brought it to me, as did the Bridges of Madison County, which reminded me of Angel from Montgomery when she's in the car and she wants to leave and go with Clint Eastwood, and then she decides to stay with her family. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, I'm glad I don't have to do that. But life gets more complicated when you have children and elderly parents and combined incomes, and it's just not that simple.
So
But
true.
but it's
When
a
we went to that
timeless
movie, Bonnie,
masterpiece. What?
when we went to that movie, John
Yeah.
reached over and he said, "Man, they definitely listened to Angel."
Yeah.
He needed some royalties from that movie.
Oh,
Well,
it's a
this. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. I'm
think
just
it
so
does. I
honored
think
to have brought
oh,
life
sorry.
to it, and so many other people have done great versions. And it inherent in the music itself is a bluesy thing. I mean, my version on my original album in '74 was a little bit too produced R&B for my taste, but I made a whole record with an R&B legend guy who wrote "Piece of My Heart" and
Jerry
time is on
Rockavoy.
my side. Yeah.
Oh,
So
amazing guy.
my record company wanted me to work with someone that someone had a hit, so I picked somebody that had a hit in the '60s, just to go, okay. But later, the way that we played it live, I feel, and in the Stevie Goodman tribute and our Austin City Limits. I mean, it became its own hybrid of country and bluesy.
Right.
And I feel the greatest gift musical song I've ever been given, and I'm honored every time I sing it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the sound of this record. Speaking of the way records were produced in 1971, it was such an interesting time because there was so much crossing of boundaries and genre crossing at the time. And on this record, Arif Mardin produced it and brought John to Memphis. And the band was the band at the studio, the house band, who had played with Elvis and played with like every soul great and all of that. And at the time, I read some reviews. They're like, "Oh, it doesn't quite work," but I think it works beautifully. I wonder what y'all think about the production and the band on this record.
I know some of them, and they became known as the Memphis Boys.
Right, at American Sound
And
Studio.
they're great pickers. Bobby Woods is still working with Dan Auerbach and Gene Chrisman and all these fellows. I mean, and I find I didn't find that they got in the way of his songs at all. And it I've done records with John, of course, in later years, and we had a more acoustic approach in a certain way, but Arif Mardin is one of the greatest producers ever, I think. Amazing man, and I think they let John be John pretty much as they could at the time, and I can listen to this record over and over again, and I don't find, and sometimes they really hit it right. I mean, in a really good way, and a lot of the time they're just not getting in his way, which is a really good achievement. If they were imposing some vision on him, it just would not have worked. And I think as far as that goes, it's fine. And he was
I
lucky
agree, Jim. I
to
think
get that,
yeah, I
to
think I
get all
agree.
those guys, you know.
John had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
He had no
But he
idea.
did it well.
He had never played with players that he didn't really know.
No. Yeah, it was
It's one reason he had
totally new
Dave play
ground
fiddle.
for him.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
But his vocals are
I was
Vocals are
terrific.
great.
looking to see if we had a copy of Beyond Words here somewhere, because the photograph on the front of this was taken at that time, and if you look at John's expression, I mean, you can tell he has no idea what he's doing. You know, he's
Yeah,
But
I
he's
remember
gonna
that.
do it though. He's
Yeah, I
gonna
remember
do it.
that picture.
and
Well,
there's even a
sometimes
pen
that's
down
the
here in the
best
ground.
place to be, is to not know what you're doing.
Well, let's talk about Illegal Smile, the way the record starts. I love that it starts with that song. I love that it sort of gets at the spirit of protest that's on this record. And I know, like, Jim, you chose Paradise as your favorite song on the record. It's another, sad story, Paradise. But what I love about Illegal Smile, what I love about Spanish Pipe Dream. Wait, am I getting the order wrong? Anyway, the point is there are these funny songs, and the funny songs are protest songs. And they're the best kind of protest songs because they draw you in with that spirit, And I was thinking about Trey Burt, who's on Oh Boy Records now. And Jody, I wonder if you see a connection there to what's happening with what Trey's doing and John's spirit of fun in irreverence in protest.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, you brought up Spanish Pipe Dream, and, I think people still play that song, and the Avits covered it in 2010 on a tribute record we put out. But, folks my generation and younger, maybe don't even catch all of it, right? Like, I was just a soldier on my way to Montreal. Like, John doesn't explain that line or what that means, right? I mean, it's about a draft dodger that goes to make a better life away from what's going on. And that is, I mean, yeah, and with Trey too, I mean, sometimes he's more direct, but when Trey's at his most powerful, it's like, it's not direct like that. It's
right.
It's either using humor or you're just letting someone into someone's life, like in Flag Decal. Flag Decal's hilarious. And in some ways it's become apparent, and John didn't think about this at the time, but it's just as appropriate now. And it's perfect for any opportunity. And I think that's, it's lasted. Yeah, it's the defiance, but the humor and just kind of creating a life and maybe holding up a mirror. I mean, I think with Trey, I think like the stuff that he kind of gravitates towards too is not he has songs where he's direct, but I think he really does sort of like, how can I get the way I see the world and out, and how can I make that, connection with other people? And I mean, it's fun. I do thinking how this record is sequenced is fun because like, it's not. My first experience with all these songs was live, right? I mean, I probably didn't actually listen to the CD of it from beginning to end until sometime in the '90s or later, and maybe from beginning to end. Like I don't know, but these songs he played so many of them in his shows, and then when I go back and hear the 24-year-old version of it, and then trying to imagine what it's like to be that age and have written these songs, and some of the really early ones too, and then how that changes. And, I don't know, it's hard. I mean, beyond words, how it is, but I mean, that's John's thing, like, if you could explain it, maybe you wouldn't write a song about it,
Right, exactly.
It always struck me too that no matter how, sometimes the simplest songs, a simple John Prine song is really at its core a complicated set of ideas that are attached to feelings and emotions. I just think about even something like Flag Decal. I mean, he was a mailman. He wrote that song because he was peed off at how thick the junk mail was getting, and he particularly didn't like to deliver the Reader's Digest because it was a bad shape for your hand. And so there was that, and that's why I had written down defiant. I mean, there's a lot of defiance, maybe not so much anger in John's songs, but there's defiance. Like, here I am,
Yes.
I'm also very patriotic.
He's merciless.
I called John Mr. America. I mean, there was nobody more American than John, and yet here he is tramping the streets of Chicago. I can hear him in my, there's GD, the goddamn magazines, and then a Flag Decal falls out great,
Right.
And I just, yeah, he
It's
was,
so
yeah, a genius, a simple genius.
it's so crazy to these songs. They are so relevant, and they can travel so many places. Like, was it Spanish Pipe Dream? Well, first of all, wasn't there a bumper sticker? Y'all put "Blow Up Your TV" on a bumper
Yeah,
sticker,
yeah.
right? But also, John Denver covered that song
Mhm.
and played it on his TV show. And I mean, I think that's just wild. I don't know, Bonnie, if you remember that. Like, these songs going mainstream through someone like John Denver. I mean, I, as a little kid, am listening to John Prine without even knowing it because it's on network television. He had that gift of telling a story. These songs can travel.
Yeah, and the fact that they were anti-war songs is really fantastic. I mean, Sam
Yeah,
Stone is to this day the most powerful
yes,
anti-war song I've ever heard, and to
yes,
be in the throes of Vietnam,
yeah,
to have your flag decal, it was brave for a country artist. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's not. John didn't come out of that protest, Phil Oakes, Bob Dylan thing, and it was really because he was so universal in what he wrote, the personal and the societal, it was even more refreshing. Plus, he put humor in it, and he wasn't, as Jim said, he wasn't angry. He just was caustic, in the right way.
yeah.
I wonder if we've been talking for a while, and we should probably sum up soon. But I do want to ask about Steve Goodman, who's on this record and who was such a friend of John's, and is more forgotten today. And I want to like resurrect his spirit in this room today. And I wonder if any of you who knew him could talk a little bit about Steve, sort of explain how he and John their friendship and how that influenced this record.
Stevie was, I hadn't seen a buddy relationship like that before, and it was just, I can't separate Steve or Albinetta from John. A trio is when, we played the Philadelphia Folk Festival together. That was the longest time we'd been able to hang all together, and Stevie's energy was just irrepressible. His knowledge of music. Well, I mean, I've mentioned in an interview that my favorite memory of all is staying up all night after our performances at the festival and Stevie playing. We just never went to bed because he was just exhausting Beatles songs and folk songs and English rock songs and ballads and Judy Collins and Neil Young songs. And, we were all just sitting there jamming and singing along, which we don't get to do. We don't get to hang with each other. That's why folk festivals are so wonderful. Where you actually are staying in the hotel and you have a workshop 2 days after your main show. I mean, Jim will know. And these festivals are what brought relationships about. And Stevie and John were just so in love with each other and just sparked off each other, and the appreciation and adoration. And Stevie was, I remember when he got the tour with opening for Steve Martin, it was like, so I went to see him at some high life fronton in Fairfield, Connecticut, and I went, oh my God, he still pulled people in. He could do it, and he had his big hit, with Arlo Guthrie. And anyway, his loss, City of New Orleans too, and so his loss was the first big one that we all went through, and it just caved John in, and I always felt like he had one limb removed when Stevie left, and he eventually recovered, and to see the arc of his life, and then. I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead, but to find Fiona and get to have children, it was just such a great thing. It made me even more beautiful by the last album's reception, So when I think of John, I think of these high points because he kept me laughing and moved. I just couldn't believe how prolific he was. And he was always away fishing and come back with a whole new batch of songs that are just as brilliant as the ones from before. So he remains an inspiration in the sense that he's so fertile and so curious and so on it so many decades later. And I've got 2 songs I wrote on my new album that are completely inspired by him.
Can't wait to hear that. That's so wonderful.
Very funny.
I love these memories, and I love that we are sharing this album that never seems to age, even though it's also completely of its time. And we could talk for another hour or 2, I know, but
I'm sorry if I took up too much room.
No, never.
I thought we were going open-ended and editing later. So.
We are not going to edit any of what you say, Bonnie, because all of this is so valuable. I think the beauty of of John Prine to his fans and to those out there who've listened today who are just discovering him is that the scope is so massive with his music, with his life, with the many phases of his life, with the mentorship he gave younger artists, with the work he did with you, Jim, to invent Americana music in many ways, you know. So let's just call this a celebration of life as well as a celebration of one of the greatest albums of all time. And I'm going to say goodbye, even though I wish we could all go hang out all night and play Beatles songs together. But thank you all, and thank everyone out there who spent this time with us. It's always a joy to listen to John Prine's debut album, as we've been doing at this listening party for NPR Music. Thank you so much.